We're going to talk about Overpowered. The community is now weighing in Overpowered on how it's affecting them in War and Crucible. And I have my personal experience with it as well. And it does not look like it is being well received. Now, on top of that, we've got some new data mines that are suggesting what teams are going to work best inside of the new Professor X saga. And I have some thoughts on why they are doing it the way they are doing it. Tomorrow, Professor X Saga is coming out. I will be on Twitch. We'll do full coverage of what works. And in general, I'm not suggesting anybody to upgrade any teams until we know how it plays out, because as a 3-star requirement to get through the node. And my worry is that this is different than Dark Dimension, because in Dark Dimension, the ones in the past anyways, if you take the wrong team or the wrong team of characters in, it just takes longer to get through it. And my worry, don't know, but my worry for tomorrow is that if you take the wrong characters in, you won't be able to get through the nodes, because the nodes are going to be tuned for very specific team compositions. And it does look that way based off of the data mines. And we're just going to go into this quickly right here from Big Spartans tomorrow. Yes, the Twitch drops are coming tomorrow, so swing by tomorrow on Twitch. We're going to be doing all of it, and we're going to be talking a lot about Professor X, but we're going to skip down to this. Per data mines, the Gladiator Heroic and Gladiator Extreme sections, the 3 new Vigilantes will have their full team passive active. Per data mines, the Global Hero and Cosmic Village will have the war bonuses active, and the Lilandra Cosmic Hero section will have their bonuses active. So the recommendations that came in game largely are what they are boosting there. And so like this post was already saying, is Vigilante would be powerful, but not Punisher or Elektra, because they're turning on the bonuses, and also looks like some of the bonuses that are tied to game modes and or having a full team. So that way you really can take in the 3 new Vigilantes with Blade and Oath, because the way it was worded, we didn't know. And so I think the reason why they're doing this is a couple things. Like if we think about the way Dark Dimensions have played out, they say city, and then we go in with city, and whatever city we take in, we have a certain amount of agency. And then we had the Apocalypse Saga, where we had to take a very narrow specific team, which incentivized people to take a very specific team. So what they're doing, and this is just the way I look at it, is that they are trying to do a hybrid of both, where you pretty much have to take in the teams, is my guess. Like you just have to take in the 3 new Vigilantes with Oath and Blade if you want to get through today. But because it just says G20 City, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, yeah, you probably can use something else, because there'll be new characters. So I think they're just like kind of future-proofing it, but yet making it restrictive. I don't know if I worded that right. Like it feels like, hey, use these prescribed teams today, but we don't have to rework this a year from now or 2 years from now when there's better sitter heroes. You can, so that way you don't have to take garbage teams, because what's going to happen 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now when someone wants to go through the Savior Saga is that Vigilante is going to be garbage, just like the old teams from Apocalypse. And they're kind of building it both ways. One, where today you have to use the team, but yet 5 years from now you can do whatever you want with better characters. I don't know how I feel about that, but that is the way it is. Let's just go over this before we get into the discussion about Overpowered. Twitch drops tomorrow. Vote for 100 character shard gift in upcoming blog. The top 2 vote getters will feature an orb, with each orb rewarding 50 shards. Open each orb once. So what this is going to be is like they did with the other Dark Dimensions. Well, this is not really a Dark Dimension, but you know what I mean, that the community got some free character shards. A week of 10 for 10. Professor Unlock starts at 7 stars. You'll need to earn 3 stars on every mission across all 4 bosses to unlock Professor Xavier. And Professor X Reds will be a milestone race to X, which can start making progress as in G20 requirement doesn't start until mission 19, see below. And so this is going to be something similar to that, what they did with Odin, where if you wanted to get the Reds, you had to do it in a certain time frame. So the people that finished Odin by the window, and I think it was more than a month, but less than 2 months, I have to go back and look, you kind of had to get it done before then if you wanted the reds. Per data mines, we read that. So other thing I just wanted to point out is some people did some math, like if you actually spent just the straight up Gear 20 upgrades, the most that it could cost to get in on day one for Professor X was somewhere between $400 and $4,800. But that's not really the way it works. There are leaderboards. People did well in leaderboards and got through characters at a significantly lower cost. It also depends on what characters you take in, and there's also the store. And when I am hearing from most players is that the cost, the actual cost, was still a large number of players that are being able to get potentially Professor X on day one, or people that are going to enter the saga on day one. The cost is over $2,000, around in the $2,000 range. Crimson Storm, 6-day alliance, raid battles, chaotic raid battles, and earn ally supplied orbs, same as last week. Rewards 25 havoc shards. See no evil. So this is 7-day solo non-leaderboard battle world waves. That's right, we should have battle world on Tuesday. Blitz with a G20 character, which is gonna give points to that, like I did my Odin first. I actually just did in-game Thanos. Also, earn X coin, payday orbs, charm jammers, and CC bonus for 5 stars and diamond orb offers. Then we've got the Daredevil modern release event, hard shards easy, 30 more on whalestones, X coin, payday orbs, and free claims and offers, star jammers, and CC offense or defense. And when they don't say both, it is just offense, and use any one of Gear 20 characters in Blitz. Now I'm gonna just, Tuesday is Battle World. Each mission, including null boss mission, will be 48 hours, increased from 24. New skill trait mission where vigilantes will spawn with 4 turns and safeguards. So they're incentivizing the vigilante team inside of Battle World as well. Unlocking null will open the milestones for his 4 reds. And then they added some information here for the path for silver saber orbs in this chart here. Now, this post right here kind of talks about overpowered and this recommended versus required conversation right here. It'd be nice if Scopely could just be honest about something for a change, like not pretending they want to give OP a chance for all of us when it's only for Krakens. I mean, we voiced our opinion, most don't like it, so they can be honest and say who they're keeping it for. But forget about that for a second. My issue is why, for the love of God, they always use the word recommended when characters are absolutely required. And I think I somewhat answered that question already, but you'll see why I was talking about what I was talking about before. Xavier notes got me laughing because they were to word it as the recommended team, but you can use who you want. And technically you can, but you know it's a 100% likely fail if you go that route. Yes, I believe this is an accurate post. You got to use, I mean, we're going to find out tomorrow for sure, but my thinking is that you pretty much have to use the teams. We'll find out. Or it won't work well. But yet, when you go into this a year or 2 or 5 years or 10 years from now, yeah, it's technically whatever you want. There's going to be better teams with Vigilante 5 years from now. I actually think it's why it's done this way. And I think it would have been helpful if that's the case for them to say required, says at launch, the required teams are what are going to work. But, you know, I don't know. Activating certain traits in section is almost hard requirement. Yes. Because it's tuned around those characters. Yes. They have to use for true success. Yes. Just say you have to use Liberty. Yes. Starjammers and Vigilantes. I passed on Starjammers and Liberty because it's always hard up on resources. Decided to focus on PvE content instead of war teams. Had they said that from the start that you can't defeat these nodes without these teams, we don't know that, but I suspect that might be true. Maybe I and others were bitten that bullet and started working on them. Yeah, and I also agree with that too. Like, what's the point of Scopely doing it this way, right? They just would have been, you know, more forthcoming and saying, hey, yeah, you're not going to get through this unless you have the Vigilante team. Wouldn't that have been in their best interest because it would have got more sales? I'm just saying. Rather than, you know, what this guy is saying right here is that he didn't spend or didn't pursue those teams because he wasn't told how it was going to work. So that's not even in Scopely's best interest. More information is better than less information, right? I think that's always true, right? More information. Also, there is a scam offer. Xavier's called Crimson Meditation G20 calendar offer. If you read it, it says receive a daily dose of Gear Tier 20. That is not true. It's mixed in with Gear Tier 20 and 19. That's just not right. It says get a daily drop of 20, except every other day you get Tier 19. Yeah, that's not right. That's right. So Rest of the video is going to be about Overpowered. The community is still on fire. When I go on Reddit, I want to say that more than half, it went from like 90% of the posts to maybe down to 50% of the posts are about Overpowered. Hey, Scopely, the community spoke and get rid of Overpowered. Overpowered is a huge spoiler and ruined the fun of the game. Yeah, and it's nothing good about their thoughts on Overpowered. Now, Overpowered has ruined war. So, this I actually have an opinion on. And for me, it's been kind of a negative experience. Well, no. It's been a negative experience. And I'll just give you a reason why I think it's been a negative experience. So this is just from my point of view, which is a little bit different than this post, but it's like this. So what was the point of Overpowered? The Overpowered was supposed to give the heavy spenders or the spenders a feeling that their investment was worth it and a feeling that upgrading characters is good and that you get a good feeling for upgrading them. Well, that was not my experience whatsoever. So I played in 2 wars so far. For one reason or another, we played up against alliances that were considerably smaller than ours. So I really don't know what my opponent's experience was like. I imagine it was miserable. I'm just going to put that out there. It looked like it was miserable. On one of them, I had 11 defensive wins. Not a good time for them. But what it did for me was none of those things that I was talking about. I didn't feel good about upgrading characters. I didn't feel good about anything. I didn't feel like spending more money. All it did is made me resentful. I come up against a team and I need to use She-Hulk for the counter to work. I don't want to upgrade She-Hulk. She-Hulk worked last week and now She-Hulk doesn't work today. It's just that simple. A team and a counter that worked last week now doesn't, and if I want it to work, I've got to upgrade She-Hulk. I don't want to upgrade She-Hulk. So if their expectation is that I was going to feel good about, no, it didn't make me feel good about Overpowered at all. It felt bad. There was no good feelings whatsoever surrounding Overpowered. All right, let's talk about why Overpowered kills MSF for me. Resource management game and a toon collector game for me. I manage resources. When a new toon team comes out, I can take them straight to level 85. Max ISO them and be ready for the next. Overpowered doesn't even kick in until level 90. And most of my roster where I've done well with doesn't really qualify for Overpowered. My arena team tunes built for DDR, nothing else and even close. Used to be solid in war and I can't even get in an attack. My defense of the newest trait-based teams are at level 85, melt like ice cream because any toon time at level 90, like literally any just crushed with Overpowered. Yeah. So now, do I overinvest in my DD teams just to compete in CC and stay miserable war, or bring my war teams to 90, unlock OP level 3? OP has just killed the game for me and there's no way around it. Yeah. I feel like also that Overpowered, and I'm going to guess that this person has played the game for, let's say, like a year, maybe less. But I don't know. I'm just guessing from the post. I feel like the Overpowered system greatly favors veteran, large, wide accounts over newer, narrow accounts. Because the correct way to play Marvel Strike Force with a new account perspective is to go very narrow and just, take a couple teams, couple characters as high as possible and use those characters and teams to go through Dark Dimension and then focus on your arena team. Well, then usually, because I've had a new account, you have a good experience in war with your alliance. Optimally, you want to be an alliance that's a lot bigger than you, that you get carried and get better rewards, but then you're going to have this experience. Like, I feel like there were 2 things that they were incentivizing in this game up until now. They were trying to bring new players to in-game quicker, and they were trying to allow people to play with their friends rather having this homogenous alliance experience. Overpowered reversed all of that. It now makes much more difficult players to get to the end. It just like wipes out so many of the catch-up mechanics, and now you're heavily penalized for being a newer player. Secondly, if you want to play in war and have a good time, You almost need to be in an alliance that's just like you. If you're going into an alliance where they're carrying you and you're working on your teams, it's not going to be fun. They've reversed two things that they've been working towards quite simply with Overpowered. Round 2 of Crucible, now I see how bad OP really is, and I'm going to take this post word for it. My experience with Crucible and OP is that I've had 2 rounds and I've had good matchmaking. My opponents were of nearly identical size of me, so it didn't feel drastically different other than I was dealing with 11 Odins, right? That's just my experience. I just happened, you know, and I play in a narrow bandwidth, you know, in the top 300 players in the game. Round 1 was okay for me. I was punching down. Yep. Wipe teams with 0 skill and without even trying. This sounds very, very what I would expect. Round 2 and WoW, there's 0 strategy that works. Pero 0 punch up work, literally boring. Devs that killed the competitiveness of the game and belligerence from them to not remove it to collect data is just stubborn short-sightedness. 4 has gone to heck as well. And tell me, why should I keep logging into it? Why should I care anymore? And I believe the problem is more pronounced in War because of the idea of the number of teams required for War. War is like closer to like 120 teams, let's say, round, you know, approximately, where Crucible is probably 60, 70 teams, where like Arena is how many? You know, 7, 8, 9, not more than 10, but, you know, 5 at a time anyways. So this is going to continue being a problem, and some of this is going to narrow down the matchmaking. And if I'm being overly optimistic and I think that their matchmaking is good, it might be disruptive for a couple weeks at best until people get more balanced correctly. But I think, you know, the situation where people are punching up big against, you know, if I'm just going to put this out there. Like, if you're a smart, intelligent player that's been playing the game correctly and has min-maxed the resources and not invested in garbage characters, garbage teams, and you're the smallest person in your Crucible block, I'm going to say that Crucible's going to be miserable probably for someone like that, because they're going to be in this situation in this post right here. Absolutely. Well, that did it for me. Crucible is no more. Am I just the only one that thinks Scopely reads Reddit complaints and be like, just as we expected? Yeah. And I just wanted to put that out there, that when they say they're going to review the data, to me, the way that I interpreted that is that they're going to look at the data to see if it's doing what they want it to do. And what if it is? What if it has nothing to do with sentiment? Like, they're just going to look at the data to see, well, we wanted the overpowered system to ensure that these spenders were beating these non-spenders and that the results were actually that. Am I overly cynical? I don't think so. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that today. Put what you feel in the comment section. Bye for now.